God.
Anyway, this is my fucking choice setup. So I'll have Spotify and Signal over here with my hardware monitor in the corner. And then this is like the primary Tableau screen.
Okay.
And where the spreadsheets go.
Wow.
And there are many.
Impressive.
I'm pretty hyped up right now.
Okay, I have a question though. Where do you keep your beans?
Beans are in the pantry downstairs. I can't have too many beans near the computer. The setup is far too precious to get beans juice on it.
Oh, okay, I see. So when you're in the newsroom, though, you could put beans near the computers and just leave them on your desk.
Well, I didn't buy those.
Unbelievable. The disrespect is just shocking, I have to say.
After all these years, and this is what does me in.
Yeah, I'm shaking and I'm crying and yada, yada, yada. Thank you for showing us, Joe. That was very fun.
I'm going to rejoin on desktop once again.
All right. Cool. Good timing. We've got like a minute. I think we can. Oh, Lisa, you're muted.
Makayla's in the, I'm going to add Makayla to our group.
Cool. Let's see, where is she?
Makayla, you caught the
Makayla!
Makayla!
Hey!
Okay.
How's it going? It's 12:59, I believe.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to let everybody in.
Woo.
Here they come.
Open the floodgates.
Here they come.
I just learned how to use breakout rooms.
Wow.
Yeah, in Zoom.
You can teach an old dog new tricks.
Fuck off!
I'm sorry.
That was, wow, that was cutthroat, Alex.
No.
Gen Xers
Of course.
have left the chat.
Or the editor-in-chief just said I was old.
No, it was a phrase. It's a saying. I wasn't calling you old. Oh,
I am
God.
old. That's okay, though.
No, you're wise. You're so wise.
So
You're-
not wise.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. All of your suggestions are just so valuable. I can't overstate that. I'm not just saying it because I feel extremely guilty.
Whatevs. Fine.
God, did I just say that in front of all the new reporters as well?
Pretty sure, yeah.
God, I'm so sorry. This is
they're
what
not
happens when I'm sleep deprived.
Kaylin, you look like you're driving. Are you driving? Kylan. Am I saying your name wrong? She's like, yeah. Okay, no worries.
I think you're muted.
Yeah, she's like intentionally.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
All right.
It's all good.
Yes. Stay safe on the road. Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Sorry, I'm a little loopy because I haven't gotten a lot of sleep, but it's good to see everybody. Good to be back from the break.
Thank you. I miss Sharon.
Huh?
Sharon just joined.
Sharon. Superstar Sharon. Everyone is a superstar, but
No,
Sharon's the
star.
Sharon's the only superstar.
She's the only
Let's
one who's
see.
getting paid by the New York Times right now.
Let's see. Do we know how many people are coming in today? Like I can't really see like the list very efficiently on mobile. So I don't know if someone can kind of take a look for me and let me know if we're waiting on anyone.
I don't see anyone else in the waiting room right now. This is all hands. I lied. Gabriel Saez is joining us. Makayla,
Okay.
you probably recognize half the names, right? Half these folks are brand new reporters and photographers. As of Friday, we're finally allowed to start producing copy that they can get paid for, but they have yet to be paid. So yeah, there's that. Anyone who wants to share their screen so that Makayla can see who you are, feel free. If not, no worries. We understand because we're all doing all sorts of crazy stuff. It's crazy time.
I hope people share their screens. I want to see all the newbies. I want to see all the new reporters.
My name's Joe. I just started last week. I'm really excited.
Joe,
Nice to meet
shut
you.
up.
Hopefully you produce a lot of good work for us.
I'm extremely hyped.
We'll see. He's on thin ice already.
I knew it. He has that personality.
Yeah.
Despite getting absolutely bullied, I'm really excited. Feeling good though.
Oh my god. Yeah, I don't know if any of the new reporters like know who you are, Makayla. Maybe you can like introduce yourself.
Yeah, you're kind of famous.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
very famous.
Well,
Oh, no.
Yes.
you have a real job in real journalism. That's famous.
Real journalism. Oh, come on.
Real journalism.
You're right. Okay, my
Yeah.
bad. What we do is journalism. But you get paid a
Yes.
real wage, I hope.
There we go.
Yeah, because UNM forced them to pay me a real wage. They're like, hey, you know what? Student journalists need a job after they graduate. You should pay them. And that I got caught up in that somehow. So, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Makayla Grijalva, formerly the managing editor at the Daily Lobo. Before that, I was the multimedia editor. Now I'm a news reporter and features writer at the Silver City Daily Press. And yeah.
Yeah.
That's who I am.
Were you also featured in the New York Times?
Oh, I wasn't, my writing wasn't in there, but it was the New Yorker magazine.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, so they were doing a story on seniors graduating during the pandemic and how crappy that was, basically. And they're like, hey, tell us what you think. And I was like, great, let me explain to you exactly how I feel about this. So it wasn't really me, it was like someone else writing about me, which was weird, but I was still there.
Still pretty
The
cool.
tables have turned.
Yeah.
It just feels like everyone at the Lobo is a badass in one way or another. Like, I don't know if you can tell Joe's merch that he's wearing, but he just got this super cool fucking gig for his data, right?
Yes.
They sent him like hundreds of dollars worth of stuff, maybe thousands of dollars worth of shit, and they're paying him like it's pretty fucking cool. And he keeps getting, people are like, can we give you awards for your data? It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. I got an email also from someone who's like, tell me, I need to know who's doing your COVID data. Yeah, how many people do I need to buy beers for? I'm like, just Joe. Like, literally just Joe.
Guy, please.
Let's see, what time is it?
I think it's time. Alex, do you want to get started and like tell everybody what the plan is for today?
Yeah, I think we can get started. Honestly, I'm so tired that I'm going to be the first to admit that I forgot what the plan is for today because I had to move all my shit yesterday and I'm kind of a mess. I know Makayla is speaking to us about, oh God, I'm so sorry.
A lot of topics. It's okay.
Yes.
Anxiety, how to be
We planned this. We planned this at like 11. So
What do you want to summarize what you're going to talk about?
yeah, so I'm going to be talking about a lot of things. Basically what it means to be a student journalist, a little bit about reporting and interviewing, and then managing anxiety as a student journalist, which is something that I'm not a student journalist anymore, but managing anxiety while being a journalist, which is something that I'm working with right now, and hopefully you guys can relate to.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for talking to us today. Really appreciate it. I think everyone is basically in here, so I think you just go ahead.
Okay. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yeah, go for it. I think, does Lisa have to give you permissions to do that?
Possibly.
Like, I think she might have to.
There we go.
All right.
I did.
Perfect.
Cool.
I just
How do
want
I
to say,
start this?
anyone who can get a call at 11 a.m. and have a goddamn PowerPoint by 1 is a badass, and you're my hero.
Don't expect too much because I put it together really quickly. So I titled it Student Journalist Reporting Mental Health and Some Stuff on Interviewing Too, I guess, because she texted me last minute. She was like, oh, interviewing too. I was like, cool. Yeah, I can do that. So for you guys that don't know, I'm Makayla Grijalva. I'm from the Silver City Daily Press. There's my contact information and my email. Please contact me if you have any questions, just need support, just want someone to talk to. I'm here. Okay. So the first thing I wanted to talk about Oh, wow, that was fast. The first thing I wanted to talk about is that reporting is hard, and don't let anybody tell you anything different. I know for me especially, the writing always came really easy. I could write a story in like so quickly and it's fine, but it's the reporting part that I actually had to work myself up to do and like actually, I don't know, actually try really hard to get that done. Making calls is always really hard for me. Approaching people on the street is always really hard for me. Um, and it's just something that I wanted to recognize, because I'm sure, like, especially if you're a new journalist, I feel like this is the hardest part, is just getting into that flow of reporting. Yeah. So here are some things that I kind of picked up while interviewing that have helped me. So was covering, there's this missing woman in Silver City, and they were having this search party for her. And I was talking to one of the people there that happened to be a doctor, and she told me some really good advice that she uses in her practice that I started applying to my journalism, is being connected but not invested. Be empathetic to the people you're talking to, feel for their situation, but don't get so invested to where you feel emotionally connected to them, and whatever they are feeling emotionally then weighs on you. And then part of being empathetic is like making sure that your interview subjects be comfortable. Make sure they don't feel attacked whenever you're being critical of them, but also know that you need to be critical. You need to be listening to what they're saying so that you can respond in the best way possible. I kind of have these mixed around because it was just like word vomit on a page a little bit. The biggest thing going into an interview, especially a planned one, is to be prepared. Make sure you know as much about your interview subject as possible before going into the interview. So everything that can be found on the internet prior, you should pretty much know this before going into your interview. That being said, don't be fully committed to the list of questions that you inevitably have prepared from doing all this research. They're going to tell you stuff that you don't know, that you don't expect inevitably, and you have to be prepared to listen to that and then respond to it. That I don't know how to use this, I'm realizing. I'm sorry. Ask questions twice if you need be. Sometimes if you ask a question, the interview subject has something else on their mind, or there's some misunderstanding. So be really keen to what questions you ask and then rephrasing them as need be. Be aware of double questions. I know it's really easy especially whenever you're trying to recreate this like conversation like interview to get the most natural responses, to be like, keep adding on to your question. Well, what do you think about this in the sense of XYZ? And tell me more, kind of thing. Like it's very natural to add on to your questions. Try really hard to ask a single question at once, just so your interview subject knows exactly what you're asking in order to keep everything clear. Also, I'm sure you guys know this too, but like yes or no questions, try not to ask them. I mean, sometimes they're unavoidable and then you add on the how or the why at the end. But in a lot of times, especially whenever you're doing like on the street interviews, especially with students, someone that's not really as like someone that's like an unplanned interview that's not as sure why you're interviewing them, they're more inclined to give very short answers whenever you give a yes or no question. Another thing that I've learned is really helpful is to treat everyone as an expert, because technically they are an expert in what you're interviewing them in. Like even if it's just someone that's participating in a protest, they're an expert of their participation in that protest. So we need to treat them as such. Everyone's important, and it's our job to lift up the voices of those that deserve to be heard. So yeah. Do you guys have any questions so far on interviewing?
And if you guys don't want to speak up, you can always type something in the chat as well.
Yeah. I don't know if I can see the chat though right now because I'm sharing. So if someone could read me what's in the chat, if someone types it in there, that'd be really cool.
I posted earlier that I totally have a problem with those double-barreled questions. I do them all the time, where I get all excited and then I ask 3 things all at once, and then my person I'm interviewing looks at me and is like, well, wait, what which one did you want me to answer? Or they only answer the one that they want to answer and not the one I really want them to answer. So I thought that was a really good tip. I'm curious, of all the people that are on the call, how many of you, have you interviewed anybody before, and what your experience has been?
Yeah.
Can I chime in perchance? I did a documentary in my hometown about the history of the local music scene in that town, like alternative music scene. And I found that a big thing for me, especially with like alt music people, is that they like to ramble and wander off track. And so I've had to do a lot of that, repeating the question to get something more concise out of them for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that happens a lot too, especially whenever you find someone that's so passionate about what they're talking about. They just want to keep talking and talking and talking about it. I guess then what you need to do as like a critical thinker is like go back through the interview, make sure you record everything so you can pick out the best parts of that interview then. I always have a saying. Well, I have a lot of sayings, but as I say to myself too, like the more they talk to you, the better. Like try to get as much information out of them as possible. The more they say, the more you have to use, the more you can mold the story into something that's really meaningful and something that you want to tell.
It actually made me remember, as you said that I had a particularly difficult interview one time with someone that was very terse. And it's super challenging to have an interview with someone where they don't elaborate enough. You have to keep kind of pushing them, and they really give you super short answers. Like I don't know, I kept trying to rephrase the question, which helped, but it's always really challenging dealing with people like that. I wonder if you have any advice for those situations.
Those situations are definitely really difficult, and you do come across a lot of people that are like that. I guess my advice is to make someone as comfortable as possible. Start the interview with the really low ball, easy questions. How are you doing today? Is like one that I always start every single interview with, just so people realize that like you're a person too, you're on the same level as them, and then just kind of ease into the harder questions. That's how I find I usually get my subjects to be more comfortable, but every once in a while you just get one of those people that just don't want to answer any questions or give you really hard answers, short answers, and you just have to keep prodding them. Yeah.
I was also going to ask, I know that for me, when I first started, I didn't really have a great system for when I got them to talk a lot, but then I almost had too much information when they were just talking, and I would I would record the interviews, but then I would listen to every single word, and it took me hours to get through their interview to write something up. Do you have any tips on notes that you take, or ways that you like make a note as to when somebody says something in the middle of an interview so you know when to go back to your recording and that kind of stuff?
So especially with very long interviews and with public meetings that typically go like up to an hour long, I don't want to go back and transcribe all that because that's a pain, right? So I usually do timestamps. So I'm like at 1:57 and then just do like a little note of what they said so I remember to go back. Sometimes I do it on my computer if I'm talking to someone over the phone. Sometimes I'll write it down if I'm talking to someone in person. Most of my interviews are usually pretty short though. I haven't had anyone like and one-on-one interview actually go on for that long. So I'm not necessarily super experienced in that, but in public meetings, I'm definitely keeping timestamps. Also, when I go back and like write the article, I usually don't transcribe the whole thing. I usually listen to it and like pick out the quotes as I'm listening to it and write down what I think is important. And sometimes that leads to a little bit more quotes, but like I feel like you're less likely to take a quote out of context whenever you're listening to it rather than having it all typed out in front of you. Yeah. Is there any more questions? Or like any other interviewing experiences that you want to share?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm Gabe. I'm a new hire, and I was just wondering how you go about cultivating your sources.
It's definitely really, really hard. As someone who's also reporting in a fairly new environment, I've been relying a lot on other reporters around me. So talk to your editors, talk to other reporters, be like, hey, I'm working on this story. Do you know anybody I could talk to? Because if the more you talk to people about it, the more you're likely to come into sources. And sometimes like you don't even have all your sources ready whenever you're going into your first interview, and you get more out of that interview. Like you just have to kind of like roll with the punches and keep going and keep asking questions and talking to people. The internet is also a really cool place.
I was gonna second what you said as well. That like I've gotten a lot of sources actually, just even talking to friends about articles I'm working on. It's like a surprising how many people, the people you know, can forward to you that can help with your articles.
Mm-hmm. There's some pretty good resources too that are recorded, like webinars from student journalist, organizations across the nation about source cultivation in the pandemic, because things are different now, right? Because you can't just go out and go to a bar or go to, some setting and like get to know somebody. The rules of using people who know people that you know are somewhat adjusted, where historically it was sort of like this journalistic ethic that you never, reported on anything of somebody that, you were connected to. That's not entirely the case anymore, especially for a student publication. Like if you are too removed and you feel like you can do a good job, I think you're more likely to be able to report on something that is, again, somebody that you maybe have a connection to. Again, obviously holding yourself to the standard of not promoting somebody that you know or doing something like that would be unethical.
What I'm realizing too, reporting in now a very, very small town, it's only 30,000 people. There's 30,000 people in the whole county. So that's the size of UNM as a whole. So everybody knows everybody. So conflicts of interest are kind of loose. Like you're going to know the person that you're reporting on. And if you don't already know them, you're going to form a relationship with them. It's just how it is. Is there any more questions before I move on? No? Okay, cool. So now I'm going to move on to something that like I have a lot of issues with. Journalism is a very anxiety-inducing profession, I feel like. So something that I found really helpful is really trying to balance work, life, and school for that matter. Whenever I was in the Daily Lobo, my role was always to put school first. I know some other people in the organization, Justin, didn't apply that rule to himself, but hey, to each their own, as long as you get your work done, right? And then something that I also found really helpful is to find other places in your life than your work to be creative, or just get out and explore. Like start an art project, listen to a podcast that isn't concerned with news. I personally really like true crime podcasts. It really helps get my mind off of things. And then disconnecting from social media is something that's been really important to me recently too. Especially like it makes me stressed out whenever I see other journalists like arguing with the fake news people or the people that accuse us of being fake news on Twitter and stuff like that. So I think it's healthy just to kind of like, especially when you're not working, to take a step back and really evaluate, because like journalism's hard and it's anxiety inducing, and making phone calls are hard and talking to people is hard. As someone who's an ambivert, like I love talking to people, but just making that first like a step to actually go and talk to them is something that's really difficult. And practice makes perfect though. Like just keep going and just keep practicing and just keep doing it. Take a deep breath and go kind of thing is what I've learned. And then I just wanted to put some like resources to handle anxiety. So I have therapy here, but it's really an online resource called Therapist Ed, and there's a bunch. It's called therapisted.com, and there's a bunch of worksheets and stuff on there to help manage anxiety and stuff like that. I have a cousin who works in therapy that told me about it. I couldn't remember the name of it, which is why it was therapy, and then I forgot to go back and change it. Sorry. But there's a bunch of resources on campus. The one that I found the most helpful though is definitely like personal networks. Whatever you're going through, especially in terms of like having issues reporting on a story, or like you feel like your workload is too much, I guarantee someone else in the newsroom has been going through that same exact thing and can help you through it. So don't be afraid to talk to the people around you, because everyone's a resource. And then, yeah, so like talk to me about like what you're reporting on, what you're having issues with. I want to be a resource to you guys. If you already have anxiety over workload, talk to me about it, because I can guarantee I can relate. So yeah, that's pretty much all my presentation. So I just wanted to like talk with you guys a little bit.
Hello, I am chiming in from Spotty Connection. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
So this is kind of touching off the staying off of social media thing. I just spent like a week and a half in the mountains and wasn't on Twitter, and I feel like I gained back like 5 years of my life. So it is good to take a break every now and then from the onslaught of never-ending news that is COVID-19 and the era of Trump and Biden or whatever. Also, to any new journalists that may not know me, my name is Andrew Gunn. I'm the copy editor and senior reporter. And if you want tips on how not to post on social media, go to A Gun Rights on Twitter and try not to be like me, because I like getting in fights.
I was going to say, the model, though, is unfortunately more important than whatever Andrew says. So you're getting some mixed messages there. But I do think I saw an article from the Columbia Review. Is it CJR? Is that what their whole title is? That
Columbia Journalism Review.
Yeah, thanks. That they actually, like, because of the hate that we are going to likely get if you're involved in any controversial coverage in social media, like there's some things that need to happen in order to protect yourself in your mental health. And one of them is having a community. So like engaging in our chat is an actually like recommended strategy for being able to come, you know, instead of just eating yourself up over the horrible things that people are saying, having a group to go to and have them back you up. And then physically, I mean, they can actually back you up. Like we can have a team of people at the Lobo that will go into the social media sphere and like defend you. And so like, I think that is a really good strategy, because, you know, sometimes you're going to feel compelled to speak your mind about something. And that's also part of this whole moral dilemma, is trying to decide, when is it that you step out of your reporter role when you see something that is horrific happening in front of you, and do you intervene and do you not? And how do you navigate that, right? How do you sleep with yourself at night if you don't, if you do and it doesn't work, if you can't save everyone? All of that was what that article was about. And I think it's important to have a plan before you get into it, so that you will handle those situations better coming out the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can't forget either that like the core of the Daily Lobo is community. Like we get paid shit wages, and like the work's hard and the pay is not that great, right? So like the core of it is the community. So relying on that is really that's what's gonna keep you going. That's what's gonna keep you wanting to produce more. That's what's gonna keep you wanting to call out the people doing bad things.
Yeah, I have to second that. I really encourage everybody to participate in the group chats, but also to like feel free to be honest and comfortable, like sharing how you're feeling about everything, or about how coverage of certain things is affecting you, or like whether you're having anxieties about some of your reporting, or like feeling unsure about how to approach certain things. Like every one of us in the group chat has probably experienced what you're going through, and like we're not in any way above, like we're not handling things probably any much better, or like we're all struggling right now is what I'm trying to say. And so we should all be supporting each other and not feel like we have to kind of swallow things up or be tough right now, you know.
I think that's pretty close to my time because the news meeting starts at 1:30, right?
Yep, that's exactly right. So we can do pitches and get through news, and we can finally start talking about what we're going to cover for our very first print edition of the year. I know, it's so exciting. So
When is that going to be?
So our first print night will be next Sunday. And so Monday morning, we'll have the first edition, and it'll be on the first day of class. So yeah, we're super excited. You know, it's funny, we have like, it's this time of year where some of the people that are in the newsroom are sort of inexperienced, right? Like we're still figuring it all out. So I don't feel qualified to explain exactly what happens at a print night because I've really only been to one.
I guess I have been to the most print nights out of all the people here. All I can say is around 10, everybody goes into like this crazed state and they just kind of slip into delirium.
So yeah, that we've noticed already. And they just changed our new deadline. It's not 1 a.m. now. Now it's 11 o'clock. So what happened at 10 before now has to happen at like 8.
Have fun.
The energy of a print night, amazing.
Are we having one night, a print night, or no?
No, we're gonna print on the 9th.
Okay.
And then it'll be published on the 10th. But they're very fun, very chaotic, but a good chaotic.
Everybody go to the print night. It's fun.
Please. We'll just have
the
a
more
big
people,
Zoom
the
call.
better.
Definitely.
We're trying to sort of practice social distancing too, because things are slightly different, right? So we wear masks, and all of the desks are now set up so that they're at least 6 feet apart. We try to have windows open. And so if you are going to come to a print night, you need to log in, and I don't know if there's a way to do a temperature check, but obviously you still do the same thing online that for UNM, where you say if you have any symptoms, or if you've been out of the state, or if you meet any of the other criteria. So there is that component that's a little different than previous print nights, but I do think that if you are comfortable with it and you feel like it's safe, a lot of us try to get tested when we can, to go ahead and come in person, because I think there's something that happens in person that's a little different than communicating online.
And then before I log off, I just wanted to make sure everybody got my phone number and my email. Please call me, please email me. I'm a resource. Like, even if it's like the most mundane questions, like I'm so bored in Silver City, I have no friends, I have no way to make friends. So please talk to me. I'm dying for social interaction.
Wait, can you let everyone know your contact information?
I had it on the slide, but I will put it in the chat as well.
Sorry, yeah, I just wanted to put it down there, so we just copy paste it. Thank you so much for talking today, Makayla. Really appreciate it. Yeah, Makayla is a great resource for your questions. She's very experienced. She's been with the Lobo for a very long time, so she's seen it all.
Yep, and then there's my personal Gmail too, so it doesn't get lost in like the flood of emails that goes to my work email. So yeah, thank you guys for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you. I hope it wasn't too all over the place. It felt a little all over the place, but that's okay sometimes. See you guys later.
Bye, Makayla.
Bye.
Bye.
Woo.
Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen. We can talk about pitches for news. I did want to talk about, okay, so the plan is now that you guys can all start producing content, this is the week to start doing that, right? We have a plan, I think, in place for tomorrow morning's newsletter, but we will have a newsletter that comes out on Wednesday and one on Friday. Usually 3 to 4 stories go into each newsletter. Sometimes we can run an old story, and in case you missed it, oftentimes we will include Joe's data, because that is actually the best data probably in the state right now about COVID-19. And so it's important for us to continue to get coverage of that. But if you've got a story that you're working on, it would be great to get it. I know that Genevieve is working on a couple hard-hitting stories. I know Liberty's been working on some. Hannah's got some in the works as well. Anya as well. So I don't know exactly where everyone is, so we need to get some deadlines figured out today. So let's talk about that. I'm going to go ahead and share screen. I just started working on my on the August tab. Like everyone should have access to this doc, or what is it called? A Google spreadsheet. Let me just scroll through who all's in here right now. These are all the folks that have access to this, right? All the editors. Guess he's not an editor anymore. We've got photo, we've got multimedia, Liberty's in there, Lauren's in there, Genevieve's in there, Gabe's in there. I think maybe the folks that just joined in the last week or so, Kyalyn and Heaven, you have not yet been added. So by the, if you guys can send in the group chat your email, your Gmail account, then I will add you as well. If you want, you can go ahead and, you can go ahead and join like by virtually joining into the Google spreadsheet. You'll notice here on the bottom, these are the tabs for all the months. July is the one we just closed, right? And my logic for this, because it's a little whack, is if a story gets picked up, and then we decide not to run it, I put a strike through it. So there's still a legacy of it there, because we might need to resurrect it, and I want to know who was assigned to it and when we were thinking about covering it. If a story has been completed, I use the screen color. And that means that this is the person who wrote the story, this is the photographer, this is the deadline that it had, this is what the topic was, and we published it. So it's green. If you see a story that is bold over here, it means a reporter's been assigned to it. So I've got Daniel was assigned to this story. Mike was going to take pictures. This was the pitch, but we don't have a deadline because we weren't sure exactly when it was going to come through, and it may never come through, right? This particular story went up and down. Anya's been assigned to a story about the update on the DACA ruling, because the Trump administration has done some crazy stuff, big surprise, that makes it so that it may not actually benefit students. Uncertainty lingers is the link I have here from the Daily Bruin, which is the student paper at UCLA. So Anya's on that story, but we don't have a deadline because, again, we're not sure exactly how that one's going to pan out. This is an example of a story that we had a deadline on, but we never got a reporter, so it never went to fruition, right? There was a webinar about what schools were going to do in the fall, specifically universities. No one picked it up, and so we didn't cover it. So again, the logic is, if it's been stricken, that means it's dead. If it's got a bold over here, it means it's been assigned to a reporter. If it's green, it's already been published. Right here, interestingly, I believe we never published this story. First it was assigned to Liam, then it was assigned to Beatrice, had this deadline, and then I don't think it ever, no, maybe it did. Actually, now that I think about it, this evolved into Beatrice's really good story about homeless and unhoused people. And she got a lot of really great quotes from the community. So that actually deserves to be a green. You can tell that this is the last thing that I update. It's really what you guys see. So this is my communication between the reporters and myself. It doesn't always get updated. Scrolling down to the bottom of the month, there's a lot more stories that got pitched. Some got picked up by new reporters, but you guys didn't get deadlines because you weren't allowed to publish. So I'd like to go back and revisit those. And that's what I've started here in August, right? So I pulled back up, what does DACA mean? And I want to know, Anya, are you on the call right now? And are you still interested in doing this story?
Yeah, I'm here. And yes, I'm still interested, although I'm not sure, like, I'm not really getting sources, like people to talk to. And it's been really frustrating because like, I don't know what to do.
That's totally legit. And that's part of why we have these news meetings, right? So that we can brainstorm all of us together, other reporters, other editors. I think at one point, I think I tried to connect you with a local Albuquerque-based immigrant rights group, and they were willing to give you a quote, but I think they were on vacation for a week. Have you had a chance to circle back with them?
I think those are the ones that I sent an email, but they never got back to me.
Okay.
But I think if their vacation time is over, I'll try to reach out again.
Yeah, they were pretty badass. If I remember correctly, that was El Centro de Igualdad, or
yeah, yeah.
So I would definitely reach out to them. I think they're going to be outside of UNM. They should be more willing to talk to you. I think that there's sort of a gag order within UNM. And so a lot of the employees will be really uncomfortable. Gabriel, I know that you worked for Generation Justice. Do you have any contacts that might help Anya with regard to trying to find out more about DACA?
It was Generation Next, and I'll definitely ask my my folks there. I'm sure there's some here in Santa Fe, but are you looking for some in Albuquerque?
Yes.
Okay.
There's the
Yeah.
Mexico Dream Team. Have you reached out to them?
Wait, which one?
The New Mexico Dream Team. They're based in Albuquerque. They do a lot of.
So I'm going to write down here just in the notes that the suggestion was NM Dream Team, and Gabriel might have some contacts. And Anya, you're still in Mexico, right?
No, actually, I came back just a few days ago, but I'm in Bernalillo. I'm not in Albuquerque.
Okay, cool. I'm glad that you're back. And yeah, I think this is an important story, and I think that it's still evergreen, right? I think it's an ongoing issue. So cool. Okay, it sounds like though we're not quite ready for a deadline, so I'm not going to expect anything this week on this, but I'm going to check in with you again hopefully throughout the week, and maybe we can get a deadline for next week, and that will be the first back of school. So it would be great to run something for such a population, since hopefully there'll be more readers at that time. There's an evergreen story. And so the language that I was sort of indoctrinated into at the Lobo is that evergreen is a story that continues to produce future stories. And correct me if I'm wrong, any of you who are more senior than I am. But I believe that OEO, the Office of Equal Opportunity, they have a long history at UNM at being all sorts of complicated, right? Like DOJ had to come into UNM because of sexual harassment and what was happening on campus. This office was supposed to be beefed up in response to that. DOJ has now left campus. We got a tip from the student family housing story. One of the people who was being interviewed on that said that OEO is currently eliminating their appeals process. And so there's likely to be some complicated stuff. I also have some links in here with regard to the national efforts with regard to Title IX. And this is just, I just feel like if we could do some source cultivation and try to create some relationships, there's likely to be many stories to come out of what's going on campus with regard to harassment rights, especially with that fraternity being allowed back on campus that has a history of sexual assault. So I'm interested in finding somebody who'd be willing to sort of follow this. And it doesn't need to have a deadline of this week, but I had it on the pitch doc in July. No one picked it up, and I'm not going to quite let it go yet because I think it's really important. And I can also connect you with Danny, who presented, I believe, last week, and she did a lot of work when she was at the Lobo with regard to Title IX and the annual report that comes out with regard to how many people report rapes and sexual assaults and sexual harassment, and how those numbers go up and down and what that means. So is there anyone currently in this call that's interested in picking up this pitch?
Lisa, I'm interested in that. This is Bella talking. I have a really solid source for that already. And it's like, I don't know, it's like definitely something that's hard to follow because it's like, I feel like a lot of records could be involved, and UNM is really shitty about that. But yeah, it's definitely something I'm interested in following.
Okay, cool. I'm not going to put a deadline on it yet. But I also, just to let you guys know, I'm working on trying to get, and it's a 3-hour training, I'm so sorry, but it'll happen to happen between Monday and a Friday, 3 hours, and it's a training from the Attorney General's office on IPRA. And IPRA stands for the Inspection of Public Records Act. And so I think Bella's point is that this story is likely going to involve records. And so I'd like all of us to get familiar with how to file an IPRA, how to follow up, how to use your editorial staff to create some pressure when they're not responding, when to go to NMFOG, which is sort of the watchdog advocacy group in the community, to sort of like blast the institution for not responding to IPRAs. all those things, right? Or if they send you a 47,000 page PDF that you can't, convert into data, how to navigate all of that. So I just want to put you guys on notice that I'm probably going to try to schedule that for maybe not this week, but next week. I would love to find a time that the most of us can possibly attend it. It's not paid, it's not required, but I do think that you'll find it super useful. So thanks for that sidebar, Bella, by reminding me that this is going to have a lot of records, and I'm glad you're going to pick this up because I do think it's an important area to cover. Okay, next one down is COVID-19 and the brand new faculty union. What's their plan? How are they responding to it? We got a tip from the law school last week that the professors are being required to teach 1Ls. Their logic from what they've been told and what they've deduced is that 1Ls are first-year law students, and they're afraid that if they don't teach them in person, they will lose those students and their income. That most likely first-year law students want to come in person so they can create a cohort and a network, and that they can start to learn in a way that they wouldn't get online, and that they're likely to postpone a year instead of showing up for their first year if in fact it's not held in person. But the other side of that is it puts people at risk, right? Specifically the faculty. The plan is to have the 1Ls sit distanced in a lecture hall, and then they don't move. They sit in their chair. They maybe infect their chair, but they don't move around. And then the faculty will rotate from classroom to classroom to teach different classes. So it looks like, Genevieve, you're already on the union piece. Do you also want to pick up this law school piece?
Sure, yeah. The union piece, I spoke to the contact last week or the week before for about 20 minutes. And he basically just said they can't say anything till their negotiations are done. Every faculty member, has to hold to that. And so that one, there's no clear deadline on that yet. So I could start working on the law school.
Okay, and I think that you might have to do some source cultivation and trust building. Like you might only get the sources that I have to talk on background.
Right.
And remember when Danny gave the presentation, background means that you can still report them, but you don't use identifying information if possible, right, to protect their anonymity. But you can still use quotes, versus off the record is you can't use it at all, versus on the record means you can say who it is and what they said and what their title is. So just definitely follow that. I'd like to get that story for this week, if possible, because I do think that it's breaking, and I don't want anyone else to scoop us. And I think it could have an impact on how things go next week. So I'd like to set a deadline. If we can't get it for the Wednesday newsletter, maybe Thursday, so we can get it in the Friday newsletter.
Okay, so, and can you send me those contacts?
Absolutely, yeah. Remind me in the chat, and I will get you the specifics. So I'm going to put the deadline of Thursday, August 6th. And in general, for everyone who's new, we're trying to have stories come in at noon. And what that does is it gives the editors, there's multiple levels of editing that has to happen in order for something to be published. And that keeps Joseph from not being up at 3 a.m. in the morning, right? And we can't burn Joseph out because he's the one who publishes everything online. So the goal is, if you can get me your story by noon, I can get it edited by 2. I can get it to the editor-in-chief. Alex can get it edited by 5-ish. The copy editor hopefully can get his version edited by 7 or 8, and then Joseph is compiling a newsletter at a not unreasonable hour, as opposed to 3 a.m. in the morning. It doesn't always work that way, but that's the logic. So just try to get yourself into the rhythm of remembering noon is the deadline, and we often will do noon the day before a newsletter. It's a little different over the weekend. We'd always like to take Saturdays off, just to let you know that. Okay, Civil Guard. This is something that Joe, Bella, and Andrew are working on. I guess want to check in with all 3 of you. Do you feel like you can get something that is unique and in-depth this week, or do you feel like you need another week before you set a deadline on this?
I think we could get something this week. I don't know if Joe and Andrew still want to work on it. I don't know when Andrew's coming back, and I don't know where Joe is at with it, but I feel like I could get something this week. My thought is still that we do just kind of a very in-depth, here's everything we know about them. Just because I don't think there's anything super timely to talk about right now other than the civil suit, which has already been covered. And yeah, I just feel like a kind of like, here's what we know, like very in-depth would be unique from other coverage and would be like a good foundation for us to have because they're not going anywhere anytime soon. I'm sure we're going to like reference them in future stories. So I feel like it'll be good to have kind of that like foundational piece to reference.
Yeah, I just discovered with Marisa over the weekend that the townhouse on Morningside and Central is where they often meet to sort of coordinate. So it might be worth going by there and trying to knock on some doors and talk to people. I don't know if Cowboys for Trump is related to New Mexico Civil Guard, but they seem to share some, ideology, and they've certainly been in social media a lot in the last couple weeks. Andrew, are you able to talk? Do you have access to internet? Can we hear you?
Yeah, I've been totally off the grid for like a week and a half. I have no idea about any civil suit, but I can catch up on it today and let you know later. Open up the doc and see what we have and see if there's any timely or unique angle we can take, but it's going to take me probably a couple hours to fucking just Google Cowboys for Trump and Civil Guard and see what they've been up to. I'll check back.
Joe, do you still want to be on this particular story, or do you just want Andrew and Bella to work on it?
He's upstairs. I don't know why he's not. I don't know what's going on. I'll check in with him though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So pitch me out what time do you think? I mean, I think it's probably too quick to try to expect you guys to have something ready by Tuesday for our Wednesday newsletter. So it would either be Thursday or you could have until Sunday for Monday. But ideally, I'd like you to, try to get stuff in maybe early on Sunday so that we can, because we would print night and we could run it on Monday morning in the print edition.
Yeah, that sounds good. Sunday.
So Sunday the 9th.
That works.
Okay, and just keep me posted as things change. This was a really super interesting pitch. I never got anyone to pick it up. It's kind of got a sciencey background to it, and I've got some sources because of my own connections in the public health community. But this was originally pitched by Daniel Ward about just doing sort of a feature, and maybe this is even a culture story. I'm not sure, Megan, let me know what you think. But it's really about trying to find what COVID-19 trackers do, right? And who they are and how, what risks they take and what processes they go through in order to help people to figure out who all they've interacted with. Once they get a positive COVID diagnosis, how do they go back into their history and determine, oh, I went to Walmart and then I went to the grocery store and then I went to the park and then I did this, and then how do they contact those folks? So it could be a UNM based sort of story for like if somebody's positive on campus related back to, this one down below, which is like if somebody's COVID positive, what do we do, But I'd really like to see a story on this. I think we can do it well. And I'm interested in seeing if there's anyone currently who wants to pick that up.
Hey, Lissa, I know somebody who is one of those contact tracers. So I could talk to her.
That would be great. Do you want to take this story, Heaven?
Sure.
Cool. Okay, that would be great. And we'll see how it ends up being written. I think Megan and I are pretty good at like, if it sounds newsy, then I'll edit it. If it ends up becoming a feature on, the contact that you have, it's really about a day in the life of a tracker, that might be more of a culture story. So
okay.
We'll let you know who's going to edit it based on what you get. And then I'd like to have that by... How fast do you think you can turn it around, Heaven?
I can maybe have it by the end of the week. I just have to get a hold of her. It's my fiance's aunt's best friend. So I have to get a hold of the aunt and then her. Awesome. But I can get some questions together and I'm sure she'd be willing to talk to me because we've hung out before, and visited her house and stuff. She's a really nice lady.
This wouldn't be a conflict of interest, would it? That's my only concern. You don't know her personally, do you?
No, not well. I mean, she's a friend of the family, but it's like, I mean, I've only seen her like one time maybe, and then she was at a wedding that I was at, but I don't know her like super well. I just know she's a nice lady and she's friends with my fiance's aunt.
What do you think, Lissa? Because usually, I mean, the rule of thumb is usually if there's anything, any kind of bias that you think is going to impact how you're going to write the story, like if it's someone you know and you want to put them in a positive light, like obviously we never want to put someone in a negative light, but in this situation, I'm thinking like you would maybe write this story a little bit based on how you know her and how your family knows her. That's my fear. But what do you think, Lissa?
I'm of two minds on this. Like, if it turns out that this tracker is doing crazy shit, it's going to be hard for you having to like write that because that's going to cause family drama, right? At the same time, it's COVID and we got to do what we can do. Ideally, like the cleanest way to handle this would be having for you to get the contact and see if you could get their trust and then pass them off to another reporter to write the story.
Okay.
That would probably be the cleanest way to do it because they wouldn't know them, but you have to cultivate that source a little bit because they may not even be interested and they have likely been told that they can't talk because of HIPAA and privacy rights, right? So it's a complicated thing. I don't know exactly where the story is going to go. Daniel also knew somebody who was supposed to be a tracker. But if, you know, I mean, the more I think about it, Heaven, I believe that you can probably do a fine job on this. And if you run into a conflict of interest, I would just expect you to then kick that back to me and say, hey, I thought I could do it, but it turns out this is going to be more complicated than I expected. If you want to jump off at that time, we'll assign somebody else.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. I can also, like, you know, if somebody wants to, like, I don't know,
double byline,
work with me on it, then they would be that person that could take it over. You know what I mean? Like, that would be fine too if somebody wants to, you know, kind of buddy system this with me.
I might be able to do that just because of my public health connections and stuff. So I'm going to put myself down.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, Liberty, you originally had taken this pitch about sex workers and COVID-19. And then I can't remember if you bounced off of it or if you decided to stay on it and you weren't sure. Can you talk to me a little bit about if you wanted to still do something about sex workers in New Mexico and COVID-19?
Yeah, I decided to take my name off of that because, you know, in lieu of working on the other story about how COVID has affected those with substance use disorders. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. Is there anybody else who is interested in sex worker rights, women's rights, and this population within New Mexico? I know that historically, from my own research and stories I've done in the past, there's usually an influx of sex workers that come to Albuquerque for the fair. And also people who are historically would strip in strip clubs and other adult entertainment facilities would often travel, right? And they would travel sort of on a circuit. Because of COVID, though, that has all changed. And so I know that there's, I was just talking to somebody yesterday about how there's been some podcasts. One, I think it's called Deviance, that has been done on the proliferation of different online spaces for sex workers where they're actually making more money now, where they can get subscriptions and they can do things, you know, via camera that is actually healthier and safer. But I do think this is an interesting story. I think it's an important story. And, you know, obviously sex workers are not unionized. They're not always seen as legitimate employees. They often are engaged in survival economies, which are considered illegal. So they weren't able to get unemployment, right? So it's an important population that's often forgotten. Liberty's not going to cover it after all. Is there anyone else on this call that's interested in picking up that story? Sadness. I'm sad to hear the quietness.
I feel bad. I mean, I think it is an interesting and important story. I just didn't want to be overwhelmed with also working on the substance use disorder story. And I think that this could be something that is perhaps going to continue a little bit more into the future. So maybe not as much of a pressing deadline.
That is true.
We can also ask the chat as well, because I know we're missing about like 10 reporters who aren't here right now. So maybe somebody else will want to pick it up as well.
Okay, and I'll put you back with a question mark after your name, Liberty. We won't put a deadline on it right now, but I would love to have this story covered. And I know there's some really great just really interesting sources that are out there that are local. So I'm gonna tentatively have you on there, knowing that substance use is coming in before this one, so it's on your back burner.
Hey,
Okay.
Lissa, for that sex worker story, if the people that we end up interviewing want to protect their identity, I'd be interested in making a graphic for that if you want to put me down.
Cool.
And if we can't get an image or something.
Yes, that would be super cool. And
yeah, I was just thinking about photo too. I was like, I don't know if anyone would want to do a photo.
I mean, I've seen other stories that are about sex workers. Oftentimes we'll take pictures of like high heel shoes on a street, or like, so there's a little bit of like anonymity to them. I do want to tell you, Joseph, though, that the Santa Fe Reporter did a story on sex workers, and they had a horrific graphic where they literally commodified a human being. They put them into a little like toy box, and then they put them hanging in a, in a stand like at Walmart with a price tag at the top. And I think that they missed a lot of the important nuance of that. So let's talk about the graphic, obviously, before we design it, because I just perpetuate.
Definitely. I'll look that up too, just to take a look at it, because now I'm interested. And that sounds really
they were super proud of it. They got awards for it, and it was just like, those people who were like sex worker rights, they were like, ooh, this is actually
that doesn't a little problematic there, but
what publication was it?
Santa Fe Reporter.
Okay.
Cool.
Jeff Proctor, I think, was one of the reporters on it. Okay, this relates back to the tracker piece, so I'm just going to combine these two. I'm adding in UNM reporting. Actually, no, I'm not. This is a separate story. The first one was the COVID tracker and what does a COVID tracker do? This one, however, is what's the UNM reporting process for COVID-19? And it might relate to your story, Genevieve. With the law school, I don't know, because I think that you're going to focus on the law school plan for requiring faculty to teach 1Ls. And this piece also has a law school component because they had a COVID positive employee last week. And so it feels like every aspect of UNM is responding slightly differently to somebody being COVID positive, whether it's athletics, whether it's the law school, whether it's, I don't even know, right? And so I just need somebody who maybe is interested in filing an IPRA, but just calling Cinnamon and the contact people in the president's office and saying, what happens if somebody's COVID positive? What's the protocol? How does this work? Does it change depending on which department you're in? So is there anyone interested in picking up that story? Not yet. Okay, I'll throw it out to the chat. Spencer's working on a voter registration story that also was kind of about student orientation. So I think there's two aspects to that. He's on vacation still, so I'm just going to sit on those for a bit. And then Liberty, I've got you down for substance use disorders. Do you think you can have that story in this week?
Sure. Could it be towards the later end of this week? And then I would also like somebody to like double byline with me perhaps, because this would be my first written story for this publication. So if somebody could help me out, that would be fantastic.
I might be able to help you with that one.
Is that Megan?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And then I'm going to put, we've got a lot of stuff backlogged at the end of the week right now, but I think that's okay. So I'm going to put Friday. That gives us some time to not be completely slammed on Sunday with people, with things coming in. But if you need extension on that, we probably will have a day or so that we can work with. Again, hoping that maybe that story can go in our first publication of the fall, the print edition. Okay, and then I'm looking at the clock. It is now 2:01. I do have a few more pitches really quickly. I'm just going to say them verbally that are not written down here right now. One is parties. There's been university presidents across the nation have been coming out with stances against parties, where college students get together in the fall and, have a party. And they are prohibiting parties on campus and off campus. And I'm not sure exactly how they plan on regulating that and enforcing it, but I'd like to know if Stokes is going to have a similar policy. Because of COVID, is she going to issue some sort of, prohibition against parties? Is there anyone who's interested in that?
Just kind of an addendum to that, especially with the hugely problematic frat coming back to UNM, it'd be interesting to tie the Greek life system into that party story.
That is true. It'll be an interesting story. I'm looking around. I haven't seen anybody else yet who's picked anything else up. If you're being shy, let me know privately. I'm not going to write anybody down on that, but that would be a really fun story to have. Not fun, but important story to have the first week back, right? What's considered the red zone, just as a little stat background thing, is from the first day of your freshman year through Thanksgiving break is the highest chance of any student on campus experiencing a sexual assault. So that's the time when I think we have an obligation as a paper to have information and resources and good information about what's going on. And part of that has to do with parties, has to do with substance use, has to do with lack of understanding of, negotiation skills, being alone, being driven to try to please people. Like, there's so many factors that go into the red zone and what creates that really dangerous time period for all incoming freshmen. So please consider picking up this. I do realize that I don't have, Hannah, the stories that you're working on written into my August stuff yet. Do you have any update on your stories, and do you have anything you think can come in this week?
So for the one with the Redskins, that one I've been trying to get in contact with people like who have problematic mascots, and none of them have responded so far. And then the police brutality against natives, I'm still working on that one.
Okay. Oh, is that one on news? Because I know it was pitched in the culture, but I can take it off my doc if you would rather it be news, because I just know it was pitched to culture.
Yeah, if we could keep it in news, I think that'd be great.
Okay.
Thanks, Megan, appreciate it. Okay, so I think I can get you some contacts for police brutality against Native Americans, like that you could probably get something in this week. As far as problematic mascots, I don't have contact for that. Maybe I honestly, I wouldn't even know where to start. So if we could get you a deadline of maybe, again, Friday for the police brutality story, and then we'll extend it if we need to. And you and I can talk after about contacts again.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. Is there anything I've forgotten that should be on here that I didn't pull over?
Yeah, the APSPD piece that I was working on.
Remind me.
So I've run into an issue with that one in terms of conflict of interest, because I originally was just reaching out to Learning Alliance New Mexico, because I know that they've been the ones that have been most opposed to APSPD. And then I was going to reach out to the APSPD contact after I finished reading through all the stuff that they'd put out. But now one of the groups I work with, Fight for Our Lives, has planned a protest surrounding this. So I'm not really sure. I'm not involved with this protest, but I'm still part of that group. And so I'm not really sure what I should do about that in terms of conflict of interest, because I'm pretty far into the story.
Interesting. I like that you've got you've invested some time on this. Are you actively going to be protesting?
No.
Okay. So there's not going to be pictures of you out there protesting. I feel okay about this. Just continue to keep the conversation going. I'm still looking to see, I don't know if you saw the Journal article about how APS is not responding to public records requests right now. So that's going to probably be another monkey wrench. But if you're pretty far along on the story, do you think you could get it to me by Tuesday for our Wednesday newsletter?
Maybe. I haven't heard back from APSPD. I was going to send you some questions, because I was a little nervous about the questions I had for them before I reached out to them. But I've reached out to Learning Alliance New Mexico. They didn't have time for an interview, but they said they would send me back answers to their questions over email. So I haven't gotten the answers back yet, and then I've done the preliminary research. So maybe, depending on if I hear back.
Right? Like your job is to be very sweet and very persistent. I always think of like a hummingbird, right? So email every 2 hours if you need to, make phone calls, send texts, but just then be really, really kind about it, right? Like, oh, I'm not going to be bothering, not to bother you, but I really need this. And my editor is just on, throw me under the bus. I'm an absolute asshole and that you're on a deadline. And, that's how you're going to get this stuff. So don't ever just send an email and then expect them to respond, because that's just never going to happen. Talk to Bella. She's been pretty good at getting, Albuquerque Police Department to respond to her when they didn't want to. So be persistent, but I put you down for the 4th. So let's see what we can do. Okay, cool. Thank you, Megan, for letting me take 8 minutes of your time. I will send out some of these pitches that we didn't get things for out to the group chat. If you are considering, is there anyone on the call right now, right before we go, do you have a pitch you'd like to make to the, to be covered? That I didn't.
Is there any way we could do that in the chat? I just really have to get to culture so that I don't run into photo.
Sure. We can absolutely do that. Just send me a message if you've got an idea for a story.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm gonna pull up my screen. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the first pitch we have up is AMP Concerts. I know Cam has done stories with them, so she has contacts with them, and I have the contact for the person who leads AMP. But they've got a Chatter concert series with the Albuquerque Museum, so it's kind of cool to see how they're combining together and working together in that. So that might be cool to look into. It happens every Wednesday. AMP specifically is on the 20th, but the museum is partnering with different people every week, so that's kind of cool. And then this one, I'd really like to get this one covered, National Farmers Market Week. So it starts today, goes until the 8th. I've got contacts for the Growers Market Alliance in Albuquerque, as well as UNM's Farm Workers Awareness Club, and they're all really nice people. This is a really interesting thing to cover, and it'd be a very timely thing to put into our first print issue. On the subject of AMP again, they've got, this is kind of an interesting approach. So they did a pre-recorded performance of an Albuquerque songwriter, but it's actually an in-person event, but they're trying not to advertise it so that not a lot of people actually show up. And I think they're streaming it online, but people are allowed to go in person and see it, but they don't really want people to. So I'm kind of interested in how they're going about that and how that'll work out. That's on the 7th. Popejoy just announced that they're doing a benefit concert with Christopher Jackson, he's in Hamilton. I think he's Washington. It's like a nationally streamed concert, and I guess a select few not just college theaters, but like different theaters around the nation were invited to join in this, and Popejoy is one of them. And so it's a benefit concert because they can't do shows right now. That's happening August 15th. I'd really like to know what's going to be going on with that. Related to that, Popejoy has to keep postponing their shows because they just can't happen. And I mean, it started last semester. They said, like, we're going to postpone this. It's going to come here next summer. It's going to come here in the fall. It's going to come here, like, here and here and here. But, like, are these shows ever going to happen? Are they just going to have to eventually cancel them? And related to that, I've got so many Popejoy pitches on here. They just started a fundraiser called Step Up for Popejoy. And it just seems like Popejoy is not doing so well financially with all of these stops that they're having to pull out. So I'd really like to know how Popejoy is doing and have somebody talk specifically about that. And I've got a few different contacts for any of those, if anyone's interested. Amazing Albuquerque. This is kind of an interesting thing that just started in Albuquerque. So it's part trivia, part scavenger hunt, part cash cab. So you get a group of, I think it's like maximum 5 people, and you get in your car and you're going all around Albuquerque looking for things, and you are doing this to win money. Let me check the chat. Actually, I don't know, I can't access the chat right now. Oh God, my laptop's freaking out. Okay. Yeah, so that's happening there. the virtual Bosque Chili Festival is coming up. I think that's a very local thing we could cover pretty easily. And then yes, say something.
The screen is on your email.
Oh, is it? Okay, let me try this again. Okay, can you see the correct thing now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Chili Festival, and then Adobe Theater is doing live performances. I think that one could kind of be expanded into a larger piece about how smaller businesses are doing right now, and just a check-in on how they're doing financially. It seems like a lot of them aren't doing too well. There's the Adobe Theater, and then George R.R. Martin's cinema also is doing like virtual screenings, and a lot of them are saying like, please donate to your local businesses, and I want to see how these popular local businesses are doing. Over here, I have one new pitch, which is New Mexico Safe Certified. This is this is an organization that offers business training for COVID, which is kind of, it's like a national thing. So if your organization is certified, it'll pop up on the website, and it makes people feel safer to go, and employees are trained specifically to deal with that. I think that's all of the new pitches. Is anyone interested in anything that I brought up there? Okay. Can you guys hear me? Because it's saying my internet connection is unstable. So just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, good.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Sorry, I'm in the Jemez mountains right now. But and then this one, actually, one more pitch. So there's a new class about police brutality and racism. I believe Lissa has the context on this one. I want to know if there's any other classes like this. I want to know if students are signing up for this class, if it's actually going to happen. But otherwise, I think that's all the pitches. And I wanted to review the pitches that people signed up for that we can now publish. So Gina sent me a video game review. We're going to get that going. Are you two still interested, Hannah and Genevieve, in these features on the student-friendly housing families?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I am.
Hannah, what about you? Okay, cool. So I'm thinking my story's gonna come out hopefully tomorrow, but I still think it'd be a good idea to get a feature on these families and just get like a more humanistic perspective of them, and not just a whole bunch of people who have to leave. So I'm gonna message you guys individually about that one, but hopefully one of you can get something in by the end of this week, and we'll set up contacts for that. But I'm
Hey, Megan.
Yes.
Now that I am back in town, I'd like to get back into the swing of things, so I could pick up a profile on someone at SFH, since I have a lot of background knowledge. I will do that later today. Could you email me the culture doc, because I'm not sure I have it, because I've been disconnected. And I'll look at the names that are already on there, and then find a different family to profile.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. And I can have that by, let's see, maybe by what is today, Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
I have no concept of time. I can have that by Thursday.
Okay, sounds good.
I know I have
a
bad history of dropping pitches, but this one is really important to me. So.
Okay. And I'm hoping maybe we can do this like once a week for a little bit. And even if we can't publish it in print, I'd like to at least publish it online. But let's start this week. Is Jasmine in here?
Yes, I'm here.
Cool. How is your story about the Why Do I Sing in Spanish?
It's good. So after I talked to you, we had some follow-up questions to send to the director of the institute who's doing the interviews, right? So basically she's on vacation right now, so she didn't really give me very thorough answers, but the second part will begin October 2nd. So I'm still working on drafting that, and hopefully I can send it to you sometime early this week to do like live edits or something.
Yeah, for sure. How about how does Wednesday sound to you for Wednesday?
Yeah, Wednesday
Okay.
works.
Let's shoot for Wednesday. And then did you still want to do a feature on the Black Student Alliance or the Black Faculty Alliance?
I still can if that's something you're still interested in running.
Yeah. Let's get through this first. Let's get through this Why Do I Sing in Spanish story first, and we can focus on that one and then assign a date for that one since that's more flexible.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah. And then Liberty, I have you down for the neo-Nazi involvement in local alternative music scene. How is that going? That is quite a sentence.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't know. I was just interested in that because I'd seen a couple of like tweets on the local like fascist accountability Twitter thing about some guys who were in like black metal bands or something who were also neo-Nazis who were spotted at like the Proud Boys rally last year. I haven't done much research beyond that just because I feel like this is another thing that is kind of an evergreen. But I'm still absolutely interested in working on it.
What do you think about maybe like a tentative deadline a week from now?
I might need a little more time than that just because I would probably want to interview some people and like the music scene's dead right now because COVID has shut all the venues down. And so it might be a little bit of a pain to get contacts for that.
Then let's do like a week and a half, and this is a tentative deadline, so if we don't get it, that's all right. But just something to work towards.
Okay, yeah, that should be fine.
Okay.
Liberty, would you also like to do photo for that, or would you rather have someone do photo?
Yes, sir. I would like to do photo, but I mean, if you would like to work alongside me.
It's up to you. If you need help, let me know. Otherwise, I'm good with you doing photo.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then Liam, the ones on here, we only have 3 highlighted in blue right now, so it's gonna be the features on the families, which are gonna be. I'll let you know what families we're gonna do the features on and when they're available for photos.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
You?
I thought I had missed that completely, and I was so sad.
No, you're okay. Yeah, the one coming out tomorrow is the investigative piece on how student family housing actually has horrible living conditions.
Okay, all right, yeah, that sounds good. I think I'll check to CEO to see if we have stock photos.
Cool. And then I have the Why Do I Sing in Spanish interviews. I'm going to send you a recap of what that story is about, so maybe you have some more photos ideas of what we could do for that. And then this other one probably could wait another week before we even need photos of that. Does anyone have any pitch ideas or anything they want to pick up, questions, anything like that?
Hey, Megan. This morning I got the book that Donald Trump's niece wrote about him.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, I just started it, and the thing is, like, I bought it for like curiosity reasons, but I'm also kind of critical because, like, you know, she is part of that family. Right, so I'm like, I don't know, like, what her motives are, but I'm really curious to see what she has to say, and I would like to do a book review on that too.
That would be awesome. You Heaven, right?
Yep.
Okay, I think that is a very timely review. And I noticed you sent to the chat the other one about the Mormon, like the one who was raised Mormon. Did you still want to do something about that?
Yeah, that book is called Saving Alex, and it's by a girl named Alex Cooper. When she was like 15 or 16, she told her very strict, like almost fundamentalist Mormon parents that she was gay. She wanted to date girls. And they took her to St. George, Utah, and placed her with a family. And basically this family, like, it was, her parents were trying to put her in like a conversion therapy. And the people that she was with basically abused her the whole time. She had to wear a backpack full of rocks and stand with her nose to the wall for hours and hours. And she lives in, I think, Washington, and she's an activist. Like, her book is really good. I think everybody, and there's a Lifetime movie on it too. It's called Trapped.
What do you think about we could probably put in maybe like we could do one of these this week and one next week.
Yeah, I can
So
work
which
up
one?
the Saving Alex book review because I've already read that one and I've seen the movie and it's one of my kind of favorite memoirs. And then the Trump book, like I really thought it was gonna be here. Hold on a second. Like I don't know if you can see this, but I really thought it was gonna be thicker than this. This is probably like 200 pages or something, which is gonna take me like a couple of days. Yeah, it's 214 pages and the font is pretty big, so it's only going to take me probably like 2 or 3 days to finish if I do nothing but read.
Okay. Well, let me put you down for the Saving Alex. I put Thursday, and then for the next one, I'm just going to put a week from Thursday, so the 13th. But if you finish it earlier, just let me know and we can get that in.
Okay, sounds good.
And there's on the topic of book reviews, if anybody else is interested in political book reviews, there's also that other the one that came out. Gosh, I can't remember what it's called. Is it called Inside the Room? Something like wait, what?
The Room Where It Happened. By
The
John
Room Where It
Bolton.
Happens. Yes. If anybody's interested in that, that's another political book review. Kind of exposing Trump from what one person believes to have happened. I haven't read it yet, but if anybody's interested in that, I think that'd be a really good one to do as well. And yeah, I like having book reviews and movie reviews and music reviews. So all that stuff. I think someone said something in the chat, but I can't see it. Well, if nobody has anything else, I think that's everything I want to talk about. If anybody wants to pick up any of these, just message me and let me know. Otherwise, Liam, I think if you're having a photo meeting today.
Oh, someone's echoing. Oh, there we go. I think it was Heaven. You're all good. Thank you for muting. What were you saying, Megan?
Oh, wait. Hannah said, I don't mind picking up the pitch for the benefit concert. Okay, and I'll put you down for that one. I was just going to say, I'm pretty much done here if you're having a photo meeting today.
Yes, I think I am, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
Yeah. So, hello, welcome to the photo meeting. Let's see. We have, so I did find, sorry, I did find a good photo for that student family housing thing. Is Liberty, those photos that you sent me were awesome. I want to know, do you know if, so Bella's doing the story for that, right? Lissa, do you know?
Which story?
The story from Friday's protest.
I thought what you guys worked out is that it was going to be a photo story. Bella wasn't going to write anything, and Liberty was going to write something up to go with her pictures. Or you and Liberty were going to write something up.
Oh, that is also a possibility. Liberty, did you want to write something about the protest?
Sure. So you're not just talking about captioning the photographs, which I know you asked for, to like write a copy, but for like a more in-depth write-up.
Yeah, just kind of like, photo stories aren't too long. They're usually about 300 to 400 words, right?
Yeah, 400 words is usually what we've done in the past.
Yeah, and it would just be a little bit about the protest, and I can help you with that too if you wanted to like double byline on it or something. And then yeah, sorry, I thought since Bella was there that she was going to be like writing the story, and then like we would just attach like multiple pictures, but that's why I was confused. But yeah, would you want to like write a story about that?
Yeah, sure. I feel like I was definitely more focused on like looking through my viewfinder, but if you wanted
Yeah.
to double byline with me and work on something, then yeah, I'm
Sure.
not.
Yeah. I was kind of the same way, but I think the two of us together could get something a good story out.
Yeah,
Okay,
like,
yeah.
the logic kind of is that because nothing really happened, there's not a lot of news. I mean, it was another protest, but because it was raining, I think that you guys got some really beautiful and important photos. So
Yeah.
that's why we're like leading with the photography, right?
Yeah.
And the photo story, the write up is really just a little bit of glue just for some context. It doesn't
Just
have
kind of like what happened and
exactly what
yeah.
time, who was there, blah blah blah, but nothing. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be hardcore.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Let's see. We're gonna start pitching out the once Megan gets contacts for the student family housing, the families. We're gonna start pitching those out. I know we're doing a few. We're probably gonna be contacting a few families. So if anyone is interested, I think Sharon and Liberty both were interested in doing some portraits of the families there. So we can kind of divide that up. I'll get contact information from Megan. And let's see what else is on the. There's not too many others. I'll be pitching out that Why Do I Sing in Spanish once I get a little more information. Because Megan, you said you'd send me a document about like what it is and stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think, so basically, let me explain it just a little bit right now, just in case any photographers here are interested. Actually, wait, is that Jasmine? Is that your story? Jasmine, why don't you explain it? You can do an even better job than me.
Okay, so the Why Do I Sing in Spanish is a series of interviews conducted through like video call. Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, through video call. They're uploaded onto YouTube. It was done by this institute called the Instituto Cervantes, which is just kind of like a Spain-based institute here in Albuquerque, and they're located in the National Hispanic Cultural Center off Bridge. So yeah, they interviewed, I think, three artists for their first part of the project. They're all musicians. One of them, Nacha Mendez, lives here in New Mexico. She was born and raised here in New Mexico. And the second part of the project starts October 2nd, and they don't have any artists lined up, or they haven't released the names of the artists that they're interviewing.
Okay.
For the second part, yeah.
Okay. All right. So you said it's mostly on online right now too?
Yeah, all of their interviews were conducted like via Zoom or Skype or something, and they're uploaded onto their YouTube channel.
Okay. We may have to pull a still from that then, since it's mostly an online thing. But I'll see if we can do something with photo, but we'll probably just be pulling a still from like the video for that one then, since it's online. Let's see. Did anyone see any stories during the news or the culture chats that that I'm not thinking of that you wanted to pick up for photo maybe?
I actually have a question, Liam.
Sure.
So Hannah just picked a story on the benefit concert with Christopher Jackson, and that's going to be like a streamed event. So is that something you would want a screenshot of, or how would you want to go about a photo for that one?
I don't. Maybe if they're so it's a streamed event. Like, was that the one that they're letting some people in but not a lot?
No, I don't think anybody's going to be physically in Popejoy. It's sponsored by Popejoy, but online.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we'd have to do a photo for that too, or just a screenshot for that too, unless they're performing at the like some at a venue and then just live streaming it from there with no audience, because then we could ask them if we could send a photographer while they're live streaming it. But yeah, we might just have to pull a screenshot from that too. It's it sucks that we all have like just, you know, our go-to now has to be like Zoom screenshots for most of this stuff. But yeah, I'd say we'd have to pull a screenshot for that too.
Yeah, that makes sense. No worries.
All right. I'm still very new to this pitching thing. Is there
Doing greatly.
anything is there anything I'm missing? Because really, this is all I'm seeing for photo right now, and we don't have too many photographers in here. Not to say that you guys aren't, you know, just I mean, Sharon, you're picking up a protest tonight, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I hope so. I mean, it depends how I feel. I'm kind of really tired.
Yeah.
But I live downtown, so it's like,
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
I'll check with Bella, because I'm not sure if she's going to that one tonight to like you know, live tweet about it and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I'll let you know if Bella's going or not.
Sharon and I also wanted to pitch something else about alt music scenes as they affect like the Navajo Nation, but I know that that's going to be like a couple weeks out or something, because Sharon has her fancy New York Times assignment. But I think after that, she and I will be free to do a photo series, hopefully.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. Let me know about that when it gets a little closer. But that sounds cool.
Cool.
All right. I think I'm done for photo. Unless anyone can think of anything else I need to do, or anything I missed. I promise I'll get better at this.
You're doing great, Liam.
Okay, well, thank you guys. This is it for the meetings. We are the last meetings, or this is the last meeting. And yeah, thanks guys.
Cool. Talk to you guys later. I'll let you know when to do that IPRA training.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.